Today, I'm going to show you the best settings for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 if you have a low MPC, mid MPC, high MPC, and you're just looking for better visibility and more FPS. Let's hop right into it. So all I'm going to talk about here is, I'm not going to talk about display or view. I'm going to assume you have already done this and messed with it yourself, because these aren't going to change much other than field of view, which will obviously affect FPS, but I assume everyone wants a maxed out field of view for competitive advantage. So we're just going to leave that at 120 for me personally. So second, I've seen a lot of these videos come out talking about this stuff, and it seems like they are very biased. And I want to create this video and give you guys very unbiased opinion on what I've seen works and what doesn't work. And the main goal here is to get you guys more FPS without sacrificing too much quality. Because you guys know if you turn these settings down too much, the game gets really ugly and the skins start looking bad, and it's a never-ending loop of looking terrible. So I want to find the happy medium in there. I want to give you guys the best FPS, and I want to give you guys good quality graphics at the same time. So I won't be recommending the lowest options here, but I will be recommending turning off and turning on some things that I've seen help. So first, we're going to start with it. We're going to start with NVIDIA DLSS or Fidelity FX CAS. These are going to be things that are built into the graphics card. Not sure so much on the AMD side, but for NVIDIA DLSS, you need a 20 series card or better. With this though, you will want to personally test it. It's dependent on your graphics card. Like I was saying, I personally use NVIDIA DLSS, and it provides crazy performance advantages, and it gives you better FPS without making your game look bad through deep learning and machine AI and blah, blah, blah. Either way, for me, DLSS works. I highly recommend you try this setting out. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay, because we're going to still go through everything for you. So I'm going to turn this off, and we'll start with anti-aliasing. First, these are also going to be settings that change based on what they are. If you look at it, it doesn't change much. And I mean, if you're moving fast, you won't be able to see much anyways. So I would go with SMAA2 T2X, just the lower option, let it run better. For your anti-aliasing quality, I would run this at low. This is going to be something that actually does affect your GPU rendering, and it will help you gain more FPS. As far as your video memory scale, if you're running into glitches and stuff, other programs aren't working, you can lower this number so that it doesn't affect your other programs itself. I have this turned down to 70. This will be something you want to change to something you're doing. I have it turned down to 70 because I stream, and streaming Call of Duty at 1440p and recording at 1440p, that's a whole other thing. And I do that all right here on YouTube. So if you guys want to be a part of that, make sure you guys drop a like and sub. I hope this video helps you out. Let's go down to texture resolution. So with this is going to be something that greatly changes the way the game looks. I would consider going low, but I wouldn't go too low. You'll have to mess with it, of course. Go between low and normal. Don't go very low. It just looks absolutely terrible. So texture filter anisotropic. I'm probably butchering that, and that's completely okay. So I would also turn this down to low. It doesn't change much as far as I can see other than a viewing distance, but if you start noticing it's a little whack, you can go to normal. It doesn't affect your stuff too much. So run with that, and you decide from there. Nearby level of detail. So this is going to be one of those things I'm going to recommend you keep on high and not low, because this also makes the game look very muddy and just hideous. Distant level of detail is another one I'm going to recommend you keep on high. This will keep, so when you're looking far away, I'm sure you've messed with it a little bit. If you have this on low, the far away objects look like you're playing on a Nintendo 64. It's hideous and nasty. We don't want that. We want high. We can find better FPS gains somewhere else without affecting the quality. The clutter, draw, distance, and this is just small ground stuff. I have mine on short because most of the time you're not watching the ground as you're running. you will probably not even notice the difference between these two turned on and off in an actual game. So I run it short just to free up some space. Particle quality, so I also keep this on low. This does make the particles look a little blurry, but in the meantime, I would prefer the competitive advantage over some kind of explosion or sparks flying. It's very minimal. I highly recommend you turn that to low. Particle level quality, again, turn it down to low or very low. You won't see very much difference. I'm not sure why mine's not on very low. We're gonna turn that all the way down to low. Bullet impacts and sprays. Now I have this on. This doesn't change too much and it doesn't put too much load on your CPU or GPU, but this will help you when you shoot through things. You'll know where you shot and if you're shooting in the right place. I recommend leaving this on. You can turn it off, but like I said, this is not going to make or break your FPS. Shader quality. So this is going to be another one. I would suggest turning this to medium. Put it on medium. Depending on your system, if you have a higher MPC, keep it on high. If you have a lower MPC, go medium to low. This just is the difference of it's very slight differences in the way surfaces look and how the shaders download when they do download. It's not a crazy thing to worry about, but mess with it obviously for your PC and you'll figure out the best thing. Tessellation. Now, this is another rendering of some of the scene that's there. As you can tell, it doesn't do much other than the way the game is rendered in a spatial awareness. That's how this is handled. So closer objects will look better and farther objects will look a little better too. This again has a big effect on your stuff. So I would consider keeping this near, test it. If you don't like the way it looks, turn it off or just go back to all. This will be one of the settings we will have to compensate for because this does have a medium effect on the stuff. And now medium memory. So this is going to be for memory size stored on your PC within your RAM and in your VRAM and stuff like that. Depending on which graphics card you have, again, this will be dependent on what you have. If you have a lot of space on your graphics card not being used, run it max. If you don't, run it min, no problem. On-demand texture streaming. So this will also change the way. So when you play the game itself, it will download textures. As you guys can see, the shaders will download. That's part of the textures. And when you play the game, the shaders will also download the textures for the maps themselves and save them on local cache so that it's better for you. I highly recommend turning this on. It doesn't affect your CPU much. Keep it on. And it will allow you to have better looking maps. And then you can set download limits if you want. However, most of these are just cache files and they get cleared out anyways, so I would just run that on. Streaming quality, keep this on normal. It does affect, I mean, we're not going to be able to save everything here, but we're trying to make it look the best and give you the best FPS possible. Okay? Volumetric quality, turn this low. We do not care if the lights are real to life. It doesn't matter to me. Deferred physics quality, off. Turn that stuff off. This is another one of those things that it doesn't matter. Water caustics, turn to off. When you're underwater and you're trying to shoot someone, does it really matter if the light rays are perfect? No, it doesn't. And it's using up space we don't need. Shadow map. Okay, so we're getting into the section here. Shadow and lighting. This is going to be the biggest part for you. Right here. You're going to want to really pay attention here. Shadow and lighting are going to give you the biggest improvements. You're going to want to turn all of this off. Very low, off, turn it all off. All the shadows, all the lighting, because these are basically, it's like caching and making the lights look more real to life. So if the sun is shining on you from the east and you have a shadow in the opposite direction, that's what this is going on. It doesn't matter in a competitive game. It's all about looks. If you have more than enough VRAM, go ahead and send it, but it makes no sense to have this. This has an effect on VRAM high. This is the only one I've seen that has an effect high. Turn it to low. Particle lighting, low. Ambient occlusion, this is talking up above. We talked about this above. It's very dependent on you. Screen space reflections, this is stuff that you really don't need because it doesn't matter. Turn it off. Static reflection quality, low. That's as low as it can go. Can't do anything else. Weather grid volumes, okay. We don't care if the rain is shining off the metal of the bullets. It's using up performance we don't need to use, and we can save for better FPS and everything else. So NVIDIA Reflex low latency, I would turn this on. It's very dependent. Again, if you've tried this before, the difference is milliseconds. It's milliseconds. The average human is not going to tell a difference between 10 milliseconds, but try it out, test it out, do what you want. And then the last couple settings here that we're going to look at, depth of field. This is going to be a preference. I have it shut off, not so much because of the performance it's using, but because I don't like the depth of field and I feels like it messes with my vision when I'm trying to aim. So I have that turned off. World motion blur, I don't know anyone who wants to look at your game spinning all the time. So I turn this off, and turning these off actually gives you more headroom to get better FPS. So you should definitely turn them off. If you don't care about the way they look, turn them off. World motion blur, I turn this off in every game. I could not imagine watching my game spin in front of me. That just doesn't sound like a good time. Same with weapon motion blur. I don't see a point in having my weapon be blurry when I'm running other than realism, but let's be honest. We're here to get better FPS, and we're here to make it look better so we can dominate out on the field, right? And then film grain. Personally, okay, you have to mess with film grain. This is noise put into the game to make it look more realistic. However, I think that this thing looks absolutely hideous. I 10/10 recommend turning this down to 0. Every Call of Duty I've ever played, I turn this down to 0 and I don't even worry about it anymore. But that's it. That's all the settings. I don't want to go through view or display or anything like that because these are going to be things that are based on you. I mean, if you need VSync, I don't recommend VSync because there's a lot of input lag and blah blah blah, but I just wanted to go through and give you the best quality settings for this. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you drop a like, subscribe. I'm going to be streaming Call of Duty daily. We got lots of stuff coming up, new builds, it's gonna get crazy. So if you guys want some of that, make sure you guys are subscribed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Doses.